So welcome back to my channel, and in this video we're going to talk about how to make money. And I'm going to share how I think about the different types of methods to make money and how does one progress through these methods. And this is the foundational video and it gives you the overview. So let's get started. There are mainly 4 types of people when it comes to making money. And if you have read the Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, then you'll find that this separation is quite similar. So first, we have the staff, which is the employee, the worker. And you have the self-employed second, so you're working on your own business. And then you have the business owner, where you're owning maybe one or even multiple businesses, or one or multiple restaurants. And finally, the investor, where you're using capital to make money. So let's talk about the staff. Now, the biggest thing for staff is that you're trading hours for money. Now, you might be a salary staff and you don't get paid overtime, but essentially, you can always calculate the number of hours you work, let's say 40 hours a week, and then calculate your dollars per hour. Now, most people, 80–90% of the population, will be a staff. You're working some kind of job, and how do you make more money as a staff? You specialize. For example, you look at accounting. You have people without an accounting license, like not a CPA, like a regular bookkeeper, versus a licensed professional like a CPA. It is more likely that the CPA will be making more money. For example, you look at doctors versus people who offer health advice but then they don't have a license. A doctor will probably make more money, and that kind of makes sense. So a license definitely helps. So if you're a staff, you're an employee, and you want to make more money, you just got to go for specialization and licenses. Now, what about specialization? And this can be done on multiple levels. So for example, you work in a company, and I'm an accountant, so it's going to be an accounting example. You can do general auditing, which I am an auditor. Or you can specialize and do a very specific type of auditing. So for example, instead of doing general auditing, you just do banks audit. And if you want to specialize even more, you do US banks audit. And that specialization and that domain expertise is what allow you to generate more money. So basically, you're just niching down to a very specific segment. And you can do this for any specialization, really. So instead of being a doctor or a general family practitioner, you specialize, let's say eye doctor or brain doctor, then you make more money as well. So you can apply that to your occupation, and that allows you to make money. And most people stop there. Now, the second type is self-employed. Now, for the self-employed, you're really just an employee trading hours for time, but you get more control. And you also take on more risk. You can get paid based on hourly charge, or you can get paid based on results. Based on my experience, it is generally more profitable to charge based on results because that's eventually what you're delivering to the client. And you do get more autonomy. So if you're self-employed, there isn't anyone around you saying that, hey, you need to work 40 hours a week, you need to work exactly 9 to 5. When you're self-employed, you can work 2 a.m. in the morning and nobody cares. So that level of autonomy is important, especially if you like flexibility in your schedule. So self-employed can also be heavily automated. So when you're working as a staff, a lot of the tools and techniques are taught by the employer. But once you're self-employed, you're a professional, you get to choose your own tools. If you want to use AI in your business, you can. If you want to develop new tools, new Excel templates, you can. And that's really the autonomy for self-employed. And you can also choose what not to do. So if there are some mundane tasks you want to delegate to somebody, you just need to hire a person. So having that autonomy allows you to cut down your work significantly. So for example, as an accountant, I used to work around 60 to 80 hours a week, which is quite typical because the employer will always try to put as many tasks on you as possible. But once I'm self-employed, I'm able to cut down on my work, pre-record a lot of the lessons I'm about to offer, and I can also do my work at any time. I usually do my work after my son sleeps, which is after 8 p.m. And I also do work very early in the morning during the Eastern time when the market opens. So my schedule becomes very flexible as a self-employed person. And then if I'm able to develop some tools, which I did myself, then I also cut down significantly on the amount of work I need to do, especially repetitive tasks, and I basically get my time back so I can do something else. Now the third one is business owner. And here it is really results for money. Nobody cares if you're a business owner spending 100 hours a week working or 10 hours a week. Because at the end of the day, all the client cares about is getting the result ASAP. So if you can do it in 1 hour, great. If you need to do it in 100 hours, as long as you deliver within the timeline, they will generally be happy as well. And when you're competing and building a business, it's really about the advantage, the value proposition, your competitive advantage over other businesses. So you need to have some sort of strength or edge over other business so you can get a percentage of the market share. Now, when you're looking at a business, you can be a small business and you can focus heavily on automation. And again, I stress a lot on automation because usually people try to work more and more hours thinking it is a job, but what you're trying to do is actually just automate and eliminate everything you don't want to do, and you can delegate. Now, as a business, you can delegate a lot more compared to a self-employed because you start hiring people to work for you. So then, as a business, you're actually aiming for scale. So, for example, if you're a one-man team working as a bookkeeping firm, then you're self-employed. But if you have a bookkeeping business with 10, 20, 30 people working under you, then that is a business, and you scale across multiple provinces in Canada or states in America, then that is a business. You're scaling, and you're trying to almost dominate the market. Some businesses do dominate the market, or you just maintain a certain scale that you're comfortable with. Now, in terms of money, it's actually ranked in the right order as well, mostly. For staff, it's about dollar per hour. And usually your employer determines your dollar per hour, so you don't really get that much freedom unless you get a promotion. So when you get a paycheck, it's like you're waiting for someone to give you money that is as low as possible, and I'll explain what that means in a bit. For self-employed, you can get more money by working harder, very simply by getting more clients. And for business, it's about getting more clients as well, or developing new services that deliver a higher value to the clients. So basically higher value services. Now, one interesting thing you might notice here is that when you look at the business owner, they're actually hiring staff. So for staff, their revenue or sales comes from dollar per hour. But for business, the dollar per hour for staff is actually a cost. So for some people, they always look at salary as a cost instead of an asset. So they try to pay as little as possible because they want to maximize profit, right? So they will try to pay minimum wage or even below minimum wage or whatever it takes to lower their cost to maximize profitability. And that's just in the nature of the business owner's goal to lower the salary. And what you end up getting is that the staff don't really get that much bargaining power, so then they get a really low salary, which means they are struggling. So unless, as a staff, you have some sort of protection like licenses, or you're very specialized, that there aren't that many people having your skill, then you're at the mercy of the business owner of getting a low wage. And I think that is really one of the advantages of being a self-employed, where you can set your own dollar per hour charge, you can set your own service fee, which gives you freedom. Now, of course, not every single occupation allows you to be self-employed, but you want to be moving to the right side of the spectrum over the course of your life. Let's talk about the last one, investing. And that's one of my favorite because I'm also an investor. And for investing, it's a bit odd. It's really capital for money and also time for money, but you're not actively working for the money. So it's time plus capital equals money. So the more money you have, you invest, you get a return. And the easiest way to understand it is you have $100,000, you buy a guarantee investing certificate GIC or a treasury bill like T-bill, and you get 4% right now. So that is time for money. That's capital for money. The more money you have, the more return you get in terms of dollar value. But one of the problem is that the return is usually not that high. So a T-bill might be offering you 4% right now. If you invest in S&P 500, it might be offering you 10%. But in order to retire as an investor, it actually requires a lot of capital. And that's one of the problems of being an investor, is that it requires a lot of capital. That means when you're young, you're hungry, and you have a lot of ambition, it might not make sense to be investing immediately because you don't have a lot of capital. You have a lot of time and energy and creativity, which can be applied to the middle part, self-employed and business owner. And when it comes to being an investor, one of the good things is that it is very passive, which is good. And it's all about using leverage and debt. So how can you, for example, borrow money, whether it's through a mortgage or a line of credit or a margin loan when you're stock investing, to generate more return? Now, of course, if you don't have an investing strategy and you're just getting an average return of the market, it might not make sense to use debt. So it does require some sort of advanced/specialized strategy to generate a higher return. But that is true for every single category here. In order to make more money, you do need a more specialized strategy. So when you look at this chart overall from left to right, you eventually want to become an investor. But if you start off investing right off the bat without a lot of capital, it's actually a little bit counterintuitive because it will hold you back, because it ties up your capital into these lower return products. Now, let me give you an example. So let's say you invest in S&P 500. You get 8 to 10% return. That's pretty straightforward, right? So you're an employee, you're a staff, you invest S&P 500 return, get 10%. It's all right. It's not fantastic, but it does keep up with inflation plus giving you something extra. If you start investing at 20 all the way to 65, you're probably going to be retiring with $1 to $3 million, which is not bad. But if I tell you what the return is for the other two, then you'll be very surprised. For example, business owner. Let's say you're running an e-commerce business and you buy goods from China, you sell it on Amazon. So it's called Amazon FBA, or some people call it drop shipping if you run your own shop. A product from Amazon, and it comes from China, the general markup is between 200 to 400%. Now what that means is that if you buy a product from China, let's say it's $5, you can sell it back out for $20. And if you go on Amazon, there actually are many products that are around $20, $30. And if you go back on Alibaba and you search for these products, it's $5 plus some shipping, and then you got to minus some overhead. But that means for each e-commerce run, which is called an inventory turnover, where you order, sell it, and you order again, you're looking at somewhere around 100 to 200% return. So that means if you're young, you're creative, and you have a small amount of capital, let's say a few $1,000s, you start an e-commerce business, you can potentially make 100 to 200% every 6 months or so. So that allows you to compound a lot faster, and it also allows you to scale. And if you invest that in S&P 500, which is okay, it's not the end of the world, but it's just a lot slower. What that means is that when you're young, you can take more risk, and you can try doing your self-employed business doing your own business as a business owner, whether that's e-commerce or something else. Some people try to become a TikTok influencer or whatnot, and you try to scale a lot faster than investing. And once you're older and you're getting closer to retirement, then you can focus on becoming an investor. Now, when I look at this table and I compare that to myself, I used to be a CPA, so I'm a staff. And then I worked my way up to be a manager, senior manager. And then later on, I started my own YouTube channel, my own consulting business, so I'm self-employed. And then I start scaling and I start hiring people as well to help me out. So I'm a business owner. And then I'm also investing. And I have two investing strategies, which one is for long-term investing, which is the typical investor type role. And I also have a monthly passive income strategy, which is in between business versus an investor. So then it generates predictable monthly income, which replaces my salary for being a staff. So as of right now, I'm on track to making 3 to 5 times of my salary as the staff just by using the monthly passive income strategy alone. So that is pretty good. So that means instead of saying, hey, I'm just going to be a staff and specialize in one category and make money, which is still okay, over your life cycle, you want to be in all 4 categories. And you will move through all 4 categories. And knowing that there are these 4 categories allows you to move faster because you know where your destination is. So then if you know that, then it should save you a lot of time. So which stage are you at? You can let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear that from you.